all of us here in the real world don't understand how the DC fuzzy logic actually gets things to where they are today.
You can't make sense of it. It's and they don't believe it. I mean, unless they're, maybe they're that crazy. But John Yarmuth, to add to what the president said, yeah, we're going to spend more, and that's going to help inflation. No one believes that. I don't even know if the president does. But John Yarmuth, who's the chairman of the Budget Committee, the Democrat chair of the Budget Committee, this about a month ago, he said, no, we don't have a deficit or debt problem because we can always print more money. And I'm like, you're the chair of the Budget Committee, for goodness sake. So American people get it. The left doesn't, which makes me think this is intentional. They can't believe the stupid things they're saying. It has to be intentional what they're doing to our border. It has to be intentional what they're doing to prices. And I guess I come to that conclusion because this is just where the left wants. They want more control. They are on this accelerated march to communism, which is frightening, and it's why we have to fight them, and it's why what you're doing is so important, pointing out these truths and these facts to the American people.
Absolutely. Well, I think also brings us to some of the things you talked about in your book, right? Again, finding ways that we can, outside of our even normal scope of influence, to bring that message of truth and prosperity to the American people. Yeah. Talk to us about the inspiration for writing that book, why it's so important right now, particularly, again, as we see the betrayal of sovereignty on our southern border with, again, not just the people coming across the border, but the fentanyl-laced counterfeit drugs that are killing our young people in small towns all across this country, mothers, fathers weeping because we don't have the political will to do what we know is required.
Yeah, well, the title is real simple. I say we make the job too complicated. What did you tell the voters you were going to do when you put your name on the ballot and you ran for the office? If you win, do what you said you would do. In the history of this great country, only about 12,000 people have ever had the privilege to serve in the United States Congress. Right. If you get that opportunity, if you get that privilege, go do what you told the voters what they elected you to do. And I write a lot about in the book, the guy who did that better than anyone was President Trump. Did more what he said he would do than anyone else, and the opposition he faced. So I try to take your viewers, if they read this, they'll get a behind-the-scenes view of what it was like to interact with President Trump and that amazing presidency he had, all the attacks from the left. I get into some stories a lot about the impeachment when my colleagues stormed the bunker in the basement and I was already in there because we were doing the depositions and Adam Schiff gets all mad, and so there'll be interesting things there, and we talk about freedom. I mean, the formation of the Freedom Caucus and how that started, why we did it, and I tell folks I wrote every single word of it. I'm old and old-fashioned, the old yellow legal pad out longhand. And so it's available for pre-order now. Will be out in 10 days.
Well, I'm glad you talk about that because in many ways there was this drumbeat to undermine President Trump before he ever put his hand on a Bible. Now, in the aftermath of that Trump administration, we still see that drumbeat continuing now. We have the indictment of Steve Bannon, all while, again, many of the things that the people on the left, the mainstream media, like to allege occurred, the Russia collusion that never was. We spent millions upon millions of dollars on not one but 2 volumes of a Mueller report, which effectively, in great detail, showed why what the media was reporting with bated breath never happened.
Never happened.
How in the world do we get, again, that long arc of the universe to catch up to the truth, right? To catch up with the pain that was unleashed for that Pandora's box?
Yeah, good question. You're right, too. They tried to get President Trump before he was president. They tried to get him while he was president. They're trying to get him after he was president, and that's because he was so effective. He accomplished more than any president in our lifetime, and he did it with every Democrat against him, everyone in the mainstream press against him, all the bureaucracy against him, and a bunch of the Republicans against him, and still got so many things done. That's why they were so out to get him. And the people who created the false narrative that started back in 2016 before he was elected, as you said, before he put his hand on the Bible and took the oath of office, those people need to be held accountable. And Durham seems to be moving in the right direction with these 2 recent indictments of Mr. Zussman and Mr. Danchenko. And it all points to Clinton. They accused President Trump of doing exactly, I mean, this is the old cliche, but it's true. They always accuse us of what they're doing. They were colluding with Russians to create this false narrative. Our job in Congress is to highlight that. I talk a lot about that in the book. But we got to continue to do so. Bring out the truth, and then hope that the Justice Department, under Mr. Durham, is actually going to hold the people who did all this, hold them responsible.
I remember that old quote from Dale Bumpers in the Clinton impeachment. He said, when they say it's about money, it's probably not about money. When they say it's not about sex, it's probably about sex.
Yeah.
Clearly, when they say it's about justice here at President Trump, they might have something else in their mind. Last question before I lose you here. when we look at what's happened here to our Justice Department, again, the weaponization of justice in the name of politics, how do we make sure that we don't have a scenario like this ever again, where they effectively have used the threat of an indictment, the threat of, oh, we're going to get Trump, this looming criminality over the former leader of the free world? How do we get out of that in many ways? Because if we don't believe in justice for the president, then how can the common man believe in justice for themselves?
Great point. You elect Republicans to put us back in control of the Congress. You elect President Trump because I think he's going to run again. We elect him in 2024. And we point out how dangerous it is. What Merrick Garland was doing to school board, to parents who showing up at school board meetings, spying, setting up a snitch line on parents is as scary as it gets. What they're trying to do to the former chief of staff, my friend Mark Meadows, trying to get him to come test. This is the guy who's the closest counselor the president has, and they want to breach this executive privilege that's been a hallmark and a precedent for our country. That is dangerous going forward. If the top counselor to the president of the United States can't give him candid and prompt advice, that's not good for our country. That is not healthy. And China and Russia are going to take notice of that if that's not allowed to happen, particularly after an election and the president's going to be leaving office. So I'm very nervous about where this January 6th committee is going. I'm very nervous about what the Attorney General has done and the fact that he will not withdraw this memo that he put in place to go after moms and dads who simply are opposing bad curriculum for their kids.
It's really be careful what you wish for. As I say, when the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers. Could be Ron Klain sitting in front of the members of Congress soon, testifying if they keep down this path. Congressman, as always, God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for talking to you.